Hello everyone, good afternoon. I hope you all are good. Yeah, Avinab, Shwati, Devani, all well? Yeah, very good, very good. This is December 8 today, I think, yeah? Or 7, yeah, 7. Still we are dealing with the preamble, and if you have any doubt regarding preamble, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll move, the Supreme Court judgment about the preamble. I'll talk about Supreme Court judgment on preamble. Am I audible? Shivani, Avinab, and Swati? Audible? Okay, good. Since Shivani and Swati both are not, seems they are facing problem. Shivani, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, good. We are dealing with the Supreme Court judgment on preamble. Now, if you look at the Supreme Court dealt with three kinds of question. The Supreme Court, I'm writing SC, the SC dealt with three types of question. Question regarding preamble. First, whether preamble is a part of the constitution or not. Whether preamble is part of the constitution or not. This was the first question. Second question was that whether preamble can be amended or not. This was the second question. Whether preamble can be amended or not. This was the second question. Now, third question was, was whether preamble has importance to look the meaning or to interpret any article of the constitution. So whether preamble is important to understand the meaning of article. The meaning of article and clause of the constitution. Of the constitution. Did you get it? There was three type of question the Supreme Court dealt with. First, whether preamble is the part of the constitution or not. This was the question. Secondly, whether the preamble can be amended or not. And thirdly, whether the preamble is important to understand the article and clauses of the constitution or not. These were the basically three types of questions which dealt by the Supreme Court. Am I making sense, Swati, Shivani? बेसिकली 3 तरह के सवाल थे सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने कि preamble, whether preamble is a part of the constitution or not, whether preamble can be amended or not, or whether preamble is very important or not in order to explain any article and clauses of the constitution. Now look at the first case. It was Berubari Union case. Berubari Union case 1960. Now in this case, Supreme Court talked about that whether preamble is a part of the constitution or not. The Supreme Court, the SC held that the preamble is not part of the constitution, not a part of the constitution. Hi Abhishek, have you written the last slide? The Supreme Court dealt with 3 types of question regarding preamble. First, whether preamble is part of the constitution or not. Secondly, whether the preamble can be amended or not. And thirdly, whether the preamble is important in order to understand the article and clauses of the constitution. Right? The first case, the Berubari Union case 1960, in this case Supreme Court held that the preamble is not part of the constitution, right? The Supreme Court, the SC borrowed this idea from the US polity, where the preamble is not part of the constitution, where preamble is not the part of the constitution. Have you written, Shivani, Swati? In the US, preamble is not part of the constitution. So Supreme Court borrowed this idea from the US polity, right, where the preamble was not part of the constitution, right? Okay. But the Supreme Court recognized, but the SC recognized the importance of the preamble. It held that preamble is a key. The preamble is the key to understand the mind of constitution framework. The constitution framers. Right? Making sense, Shivani and Swati? This was the Berubari Union case. Now, second case was Keswanan Bharti case. Keswanan Bharti case, 1973. This was very landmark case. Now, on different occasion, we will talk about this case. Now, here we are dealing with the preamble. Then I'll talk about the only regarding preamble. Who asked the SC? Do you know SC hear the petition now? Right? Exactly. Supreme Court heard the petition. So it was petitioned in the petition was filed by the people or by the government also filed petition, people also filed petition anyway. In the case one in Bharti case, Supreme Court said that preamble is a part of the constitution and it is extremely important. Hi Avinav, I'm seeing you are going out and coming, you are facing internet issue. Yeah, I can understand the internet connection issue, right? Whether you unmute yourself, Avinav. Mute yourself. Sorry, mute yourself. Yeah. Now, if you look at in this case, Supreme Court held that the preamble is a part of the constitution. Is part of the constitution, right? It is extremely important. Right? Justice H.R. Khanna said that the preamble works before the constitution in the US. But it works along with the constitution. But it works along with the constitution in India. Right? In the US, preamble works before the constitution, but in India, the preamble works along with the constitution. That was given, by the Justice H.R. Khanna. Right? It can be amended. The Supreme Court held that, change the paragraph. Supreme Court held that the preamble or the parliament can amend the parliament under Article 368 can amend any part of the constitution. Including fundamental right and preamble, including fundamental rights and preamble. But it cannot damage or destroy basic structure of the Constitution. Write it. The Supreme Court held that the Parliament under Article 368 can amend any part of the Constitution, including fundamental rights and preamble, but it cannot damage or destroy basic structure of the Constitution. If you are done, then let me know. Then okay, very good, very good. Now, third point you write, the Supreme Court held that the preamble is very important. Preamble is vital, right? In order to explain the true meaning of article and or clause of the Constitution. Right? Therefore, the Constitution should be interpreted. The Constitution should be interpreted in the light of vision expressed in the preamble. Right? It is a guide to the Constitution. Right? So any article of the Constitution or the clauses of any article of the Constitution should be interpreted, in the light of noble vision that has been enshrined in the preamble of the Constitution. So whenever there is ambiguity, whenever there is, if you don't know, you can't understand the article of the Indian Constitution, the true meaning of the article of the Constitution, you must read preamble and then try to understand what article wants to convey you. Making sense? Yeah, Shwati, Avinav. If any doubt, if you have, you can ask me. Now, the third case, that is LIC. You can write LIC case 1995. Right? Here, the Supreme Court held that the preamble is an integral part of the Constitution. Now look at this. Judgment is repeating the Keshwaran Bhati case, basically, and upholding that preamble is a part of the constitution. Right? So now you can see the all three answers you have received. The constitution, preamble is a part of the constitution. Preamble can be amended, but basic structure like socialism, not socialism, secularism is a basic structure of the Indian constitution. It cannot be damaged. It cannot be amended. It's not that you exclude the word secularism from the India's preamble. Right? There are, there are plea. Have you heard about Subramaniam Swamy? Do you know Subramaniam Swamy? He's an MP from, either Tamil Nadu, from Tamil Nadu, somewhere, I don't know the place. And he filed a plea that, the word secularism and socialism should be removed from the preamble because it has been inserted to the 42nd Amendment Act, right? But during the emergency. Anyway, so these are the actually Supreme Court judgment. Any issue, any doubt if you have? US, we have borrowed preamble from US. US Constitution first preamble is borrowed from the idea of preamble, not preamble itself, the idea of preamble. The idea of preamble is borrowed from the US Constitution. Yeah.
Other than India and the US, does anyone has this preamble?
Any constitution. For example, you have Google, you read preamble of the Republic of Africa, South Africa. Republic of South Korea. If you go through the preamble, kya likha hua hai, just for, for the sake of adventurism, right? The academic adventurism. You can look, you can read, kya pad likha hua wahan par. The wordology, you can pick up what are the words that the Africa uses, South Africa had used, or what are the South Korea had used. Right? The United Nations UN Charter has also used the preamble. France have preamble. France have different tradition. I don't know whether it has or not. Let me just check. This is a very much objective question. I don't know. Perhaps may not. But let me. As France Constitution preamble. Even the Google has no answer, the correct direct answer. We'll check and we'll tell you. Avinav. Exactly, because France has different tradition. Fine. Anyway, we'll check and we'll tell you. So that is, we done the preamble. You know how many days we have already spent on preamble. Fine. Now I will talk about fundamental right, which is the most important chapter. fundamental rights. Now, before we discuss fundamental rights, let me discuss what is rights. What is rights? What is rights? What do you know about the rights? Shivani, Swati, Avinav, what is the meaning? Essential thing to prevail justice, legal law? No. No. When you say that I have a right to walk, what are you doing? When you say that you have right to enter in picture hall, what are you doing? Adhikar, yes. When you say you have a right to marry, what you are doing here? What action is called? No, you are claiming. Right is a claim. Right is a claim. Right, against the state. Purely term. Right is a claim against the state. It is also claim against society and even the collective body. Now look at right is a modern concept. And again here I will borrow the John Locke. You remember John Locke? The father of liberalism, who proposed that each man has equal right. He said each man has equal right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. Right to life, liberty, and property is a slogan coined by John Locke. Right? He said each man has a right to life. Nature has given life, and therefore no one has authority over my life. Right? And similarly, I have liberty. Why you have right? Because you are living in that community. Right? If you are living in a society, you have certain claim against society. But at the same time, you have obligation also. Mind it. You have right to walk. And while you are walking, you should not cross the other. That is your obligation. That is your obligation. Yeah? You have right to laugh, or you have right to listen music, but at the same time obligation comes that your right should not harm the others rights. Similar rights like liberty. It is a very modern concept. It is a very modern concept proposed by John Locke, right? And he talked about right to life, liberty, and property. And nobody can encroach upon the individual right to life, liberty, and property. No. Right? So do you think that India has been a right-based society? Has India been a right-based society? Yeah? Okay. What was the rights women had? And even what was the rights the Dalit had in Indian society? I'm talking about ancient India, medieval India. I'm not talking about after independence. Was India a right-based society? No. Right? Avinav, the acts untouchable or depressed classes had no right to education in India. India was a duty-based society. And that was privileges. Shivani, that is not right. It is a privileges. All privileges belongs to the upper caste males. They were entitlement, privileges. Right? They were entitled. Fine. So India was a duty-based society. For example, right, woman had its own duty. Each caste had its own duty, isn't it? Fine. So if you look at the John Locke, who said, everyone has right because nature has given birth to everyone. So he said, since, as birth, you have some rights because the nature has given right. So you have natural rights. By birth, if a person get born, that person have some rights. That is called natural right because nature has given it. For example, life. Right? A set of rights, provided by nature itself. Like life. Since nature has given life, I should die naturally. No one should have a right to kill me. So does right is valuable only when it is written form? No. For example, some rights may not be written, but it does not mean that that is not valuable.
Then, sir, if we are, Then, sir, if we are saying
right to food, because right to food is directly linked to the life. Right to clean water and air. Right to walk. Right to property. Right to property is also natural right because you have acquired property through your labor and your labor is a natural one. Still euthanasia is illegal. Yeah, why not? Why? Because you cannot kill someone. Avinab, we'll talk about euthanasia when I'll talk about Article 21. Yes, Shivani, go ahead.
Yes. So, sir, as you told that during ancient or medieval time, there were no rights,
No.
right? So,
Yeah.
there was a Varna system in which
There was a
Brahmins
Varna
can
system,
only
there was privileges, there was a divine hierarchy. Right was coming from the divine, from the god, and only to the Brahmins in India and only to the king in the Western society. Yeah.
So, sir, how can we difference between right and privileges?
Privileges can be limited to someone, few people. For example, Brahmana has privileges to study Veda, but the Dalit had the acts untouchable Shudra had no such privilege. That was not a right.
Okay,
It was an entitlement.
So right is means all one can use the privilege of something. It is right.
Not privilege. Privilege is something different. Right is a claim. Okay, I have also claimed to study. When you talk about right to education, that means you are claiming against the state that the state must provide right education.
Okay, so sir, there was king. So can't we say that they have a right to justice because means someone goes to king and king do justice for someone?
So no, people used to go and ask for justice, fine, but yeah, people used to go to the king for justice, but It was not claim against the, it was, my baap, क्षमा कर दो, प्रार्थी कर दो, माफ कर दो मुझे, right? Forgive me, right? But it was not a claim, it was a request. Forgive me. It was not a claim. Now you have claiming, for example, whenever your rights are violated, you go to the court. Right? You have become assertive. No, I have this. Because it belongs to you. Making sense? No. Yeah, Shivani. Go ahead. Yeah. अच्छा इसको लिख लिया? Just note it down. Then I will move. And then we'll explain another set of rights. Dan, Shivani? Yes, Shivani, you're in the class and you're not audible to me.
Hello.
Yeah, now audible.
Okay, sorry, sir. Connection was lost actually.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sir. So that's it, sir. I couldn't listen what you said.
Oh, it's all right. I'll speak again. Now, if you see the, ancient India or, Europe or medieval India or medieval Europe, right? In medieval Europe, it was, divine right. Divine right theory. It means only God and king had all rights. Subject had no rights. Right? The king had all rights, not the subject. Even in medieval time, there was a divine right theory. King had. Now come to the modernity. What modernity talks about? Modern age. Modern age talked about individual. Modern age talked about rights. That is equal rights to everyone. Right? Two scholars here. One scholar I'll talk about here, only John Locke. I'm not going in detail. What John Locke talks about, that, nature has given birth everyone equally. Nature has given birth to everyone, and all have equal rights. Right? So right is a claim. Right is a claim. Right? Right is a claim, primarily against a state. For example, when you say you have a right to appear in UPSC examination, nobody can obstruct you. It's your assertion, it's your, claim that you do. Right? So right is a claim against the state primarily. Fine. Now come to the several sets of rights. If you look at the rights, by birth we have certain rights, right? So you call natural right. What is natural rights? Natural rights means, a set of rights a person get by birth. आपका जन्म होता है, उसी के साथ आपको कुछ राइट्स मिल जाते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, right to life. No person can kill that baby. No person, even the mother or the father who had contribution in the giving life cannot kill. Making sense? Swati, Shivani, Avinam. Right to life is a very much natural right. Right? So the right to life is related to many one. For example, food. Individual has right to food. Right? Clean air. Right? And water. This is also natural right. Right to walk. Right to property is also natural right. Now, if you look at when a state came into being, ऐसा तो नहीं state जनजात था. Even in the hunting and gathering stage, there was a state. No, state came in later. State as an organization, state is an organization. State came up later. Right? So a state recognized some right. A set of rights recognized by the state through law, called as legal rights. For example, RTI, right to information, RTE, right to education. These are legal rights. Am I making sense? Shivani, Swati, and Abhinav. A set of rights that state recognizes, right? And a state provides you through the law, through the legislation, right? That is called legal rights. So you have natural right, now you have legal right. What is legal rights? Legal rights are provided through the law. For example, right to marry. Right to marry is a legal right. Right, because before 21, I'm talking about boy, Avinav, you cannot go for marry. Can you? You have legal right to marry, but after 21. The girls cannot go for marry before 18. Now there is a bill. There is a bill, Avinav, in the parliament that has proposed that both and girls should attain 21 years in order to marry. Right? Good or bad, that's a different point of debate. There are many tribal community in India, right? They marry their child at early age. When you make some law, then if some person marry before 21, it becomes a criminal act. Nahi? Isn't it? If you look at the tribal population, even in the village, right? There are poor people, there are community who marry their child at early age. That means you are criminalizing marriage if someone does before 21. Isn't it? So, did you get the idea of legal right? Did you get the idea of natural right? Then I'll move ahead. Tell me any doubt if you have. Legal right, then natural right. Right? Natural right. Now, what is constitutional right? What is constitutional right? Right? A set of rights provided by the Constitution. For example, right to vote is a constitutional right, but it is not a fundamental right. For example, right to speech and expression. It is also constitutional right, it is also fundamental right. Yeah, I can understand. Yeah. She may watch later on. She may watch it later on. Now, what is fundamental right? Now I'm coming to the fundamental right. Fundamental rights. How we can define fundamental rights? There are a set of rights which is fundamental in nature in order to live a good life, right? Without which we cannot develop our full potential. Yes, Shivani. Sure. The natural right and the legal right we discussed in this slide. I hope you got the concept of natural right. What is the concept of legal right? No, there are more. Here I am talking about constitutional right. What is called constitutional rights? A set of rights provided by the Constitution, like right to vote. Right to vote is a constitutional right, and also right to speech and expression. It is also constitutional rights. But if you look at the right to vote, is not a fundamental right, but it is a constitutional right. Now come to fundamental right. What is fundamental right? A set of rights which is fundamental in nature, which is fundamental in nature, without which an individual cannot develop their human potential and live a dignified life. Right? There are certain basic rights which are called fundamental, right, which is necessary for individual dignity, individual development. Now if you look at Indian Constitution, there are 6 set of rights that has been recognized, which are essential and fundamental. That's why it's called fundamental right. Am I making sense, Shivani, Shwati and Avinav? So if you look at all fundamental rights are constitutional rights, but not all constitutional rights are the fundamental rights. For example, right to vote is a constitutional right, but it is not a fundamental right. So all fundamental rights are constitutional rights, but not all constitutional rights are fundamental rights. Am I making sense to you? Swati, Shivani, Avinav. Right? So now come to the, after this fundamental rights, now we'll talk about more that human rights. What is human rights? What is human rights? Now look at the United Nations. I hope you have heard about United Nations, UN. Now in after 1948, United Nations has declared a set of rights, right? Every person has, because they are a human being, right? Because they are a human being, and being human, they have a set of rights, right? And the UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, declared, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and all the rights included in that declaration are called human rights. Making sense? Right? So, right, लेकिन a set of rights declared on December 10, 1948 by the United Nations General Assembly. United Nations General Assembly, United Nations General Assembly through Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Of human rights, right? A set of rights declared on December 10, 1948 by the United Nations General Assembly through Universal Declaration of Rights, right? Each person has rights, has a set of rights, because due to being human, called as human rights. Right? So if you look at UDHR, now Universal Declaration of Human Rights, this one, UDHR, I'm just UDHR, just writing in a brief. UDHR has preamble and 30 articles. Which talks about set of rights, which are human rights. Making sense? So now, did you get what is the difference between human rights, what are fundamental rights, what are constitutional rights, what is, for example, fundamental rights, human rights, natural right, क्या क्या है? Making sense? Clear हो जाएगा? कोई पूछेगा तो confuse तो नहीं करोगे? I hope you won't confuse. Yeah, Swati, you would be able to clear what is natural right, what is this right, what is that right. Fine. Right? Now, since I have explained all set of rights, and also I have explained what is rights. I told you that जो rights है ना हमारा, वो rights liberty की भी तरह दो तरह के हैं, negative rights and positive rights. Negative rights, so all natural rights are negative rights, and also positive rights. जो स्टेट हमें प्रोवाइड कराता है. पॉजिटिव राइट्स आर प्रोवाइडेड बाय द स्टेट. Right, for example, RTE. Right, for example, RTI. This is also positive rights. You have right to know the information. Right, but negative rights, all natural rights are negative rights. Natural rights are negative rights. Right, must be protected by the state. Right? Making sense? So like liberty, here we have two set of rights, positive rights and negative rights. Since I have explained these rights, then if you look at the fundamental rights, now I'm coming to the topic, fundamental rights. Now if you look at the Indian Constitution provides 6 sets of fundamental rights. Nahin? Indian Constitution provides 6 set of FR. I'm writing fundamental rights. What is first? Right to equality. Right? Then second, right to freedom. Right? Right to equality comes from Article 14 to 18. Then here you have right to freedom is from 92 to 22. Then you have third, right against exploitation. Right against exploitation. Article 23, 24. Now then social and cultural rights. Educational and cultural rights. Article 25 to 28. No. Right to religion. This is the right to freedom of religion. Take a minute. Right to freedom of religion. That is Article 25 to 28. Right? Then this is fourth. Fifth is, cultural and educational and cultural right. Then you have Article 29 and 30. And sixth, you have right to constitutional remedies. That is Article 32. Now, if you look at Article 31, right to property was a fundamental right to property. But that has been, transferred by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, right to property is a legal right now. It is not a fundamental right. Have you written? Shivani, Shwati, and Avinav? Yeah, if any doubt, if you have, you can go ahead. You can ask. Whatever we have discussed, if you have any doubt, you may ask question. Is it clear? Clear? No question? Okay. So I will stop here, and tomorrow I'll start Article 12. I'll talk about state. I'll explain you what is the meaning of state, right? And then we will move to Article 13, Article 14. Each article we will look separately till Article 2032. The chapter before fundamental rights, should we read ourselves? Yeah, we'll do later on. You can, in meanwhile, you can read it. For example, you know, our union and territory, we will do it while we will do federalism. Citizenship, I'll do later. Okay? Okay. Chalo, then I'm stopping here. See you tomorrow. Any doubt, any questions, any query, you can email me also, right? If you feel so. Feel free to write. Okay, see you tomorrow. Yeah. Good day, Shivani. Good day, Swati. And have a great day, Avinav.